You know, if you've ever walked down a street in one of India's big, bustling cities, you've seen it. Piles of rubbish in open spaces, plastic bags tangled up in trees, bins just overflowing. It's a huge, visible challenge. But what if I told you the real key to understanding this isn't just about a lack of trash cans? What if it's about a deep cultural contradiction? Okay, let's get into it. So, first things first, to really wrap our heads around this, we need to understand the sheer scale of the problem. And I mean, we are not just talking about a little bit of litter here. Get ready for this number: 160,000 tons. That's how much solid waste India generates every single day. It's an almost unimaginable amount. So, the big question is, where on earth does it all go?
Well, this is where it gets really eye-opening. A staggering 70%, think about that, 70% of all that waste just ends up in landfills or open dumps. We're talking about literal mountains of trash piling up on the edges of cities. A small part is processed, and a whole chunk is just never even collected. This is the reality we're dealing with.
Okay, but here's where the story takes a really fascinating turn. Because this public waste problem exists right alongside a powerful, and I mean powerful, cultural value. And that brings us to the core of this whole thing, the cleanliness paradox. So on one hand, you have safai, this concept of rigorous, almost sacred cleanliness inside your own home. But on the other hand, there's this mindset that public space is different. It's a place for bahar ka kachra, outside trash. It's this stark, visible divide between what's private and what's public. And listen, this isn't just a casual preference. This quote nails it. Inside the four walls of a home, cleanliness is an absolute priority. It's a daily, disciplined ritual. The care for one's personal space is just profound. Which leads us to the billion-dollar question, right? How can these two realities exist at the same time? Why does that deep commitment to safai seem to just stop at the front door? What gives? All right, so to answer that, we've got to peel back the layers. There are the immediate, everyday reasons, for sure. But there's also a much deeper history that has shaped this behavior for generations.
So, on the surface, the reasons seem kind of obvious. If there are no bins around or the trash pickup is unreliable, what are people going to do? And when you see everybody else doing it, it just becomes normal. Plus, with little to no enforcement of anti-littering laws, there's really no consequence. These factors all feed into each other, creating a daily cycle that's super hard to break.
But to really get why this became normal in the first place, we have to go back in time. This isn't a new problem. Oh no. Its roots run deep. And this timeline just lays it all out perfectly. Think about it. Way back when, most waste was organic. Tossing a banana peel outside? No big deal. It biodegrades. Then, during the colonial era, a system was set up where sanitation services focused on elite areas, not common neighborhoods. After independence, you have the plastic boom crashing into cities that were growing way too fast for their infrastructure to keep up. So, by the 90s, the habit was set in stone. And this right here is the critical takeaway, that history created this powerful, lingering idea that keeping public spaces clean is the government's job, not a shared responsibility for every citizen. And that mindset has had a long, long shadow. But hang on, this isn't where the story ends. The situation isn't frozen in time. In fact, there are some really promising signs of a cultural shift, one that could lead to a much cleaner future. A huge catalyst for this change has been the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, or the Clean India Mission. When it launched in 2014, it was massive. It put sanitation and public cleanliness right at the center of the national conversation, really for the first time in decades. And you can actually see the results on the ground. You've got community groups organizing their own cleanup drives. In big cities, you see more and more people actually holding onto a candy wrapper to find a bin. And maybe most importantly, the campaign has started to make littering socially embarrassing. It's using social pressure to change behavior. Okay, so we've talked about trash, but what about recycling? Well, this is another one of those areas where the official story, it doesn't even come close to telling you what's really going on. There's this massive, hidden engine of recycling at work. I mean, just look at this. The formal, official recycling system, its contribution is tiny. Now look at the informal sector. It's not even close. These informal networks are recycling up to a quarter of all waste in the country.
That's a mind-blowing achievement, and it's happening completely outside the official system. And who's doing this incredible work? It's the country's rag pickers and kabadivalas. They're an army of waste collectors, sorting through mountains of garbage to salvage anything with value. These are the invisible, unsung heroes who are literally carrying India's recycling system on their shoulders.
So that brings us back to where we started, with the question that really gets to the heart of this paradox. After seeing the history, the cultural forces, and the hidden systems at play, what do you think? Is a cleaner India just a matter of more bins and better trucks? Or does it require something much, much deeper? A fundamental shift in mindset to finally close that gap between the clean home and the clean street?